I ran this interview when I sat down with this author who's very famous. He's written millions of books. I asked him, what's the first step you take when writing a book? His reply was powerful. He said, I write the last chapter of my book first. He explained that this keeps his writing focused because he always knows where he's going to end up. There was so much wisdom in that, and I don't just mean for authors. This is the way we should live our lives. Ask yourself this question: what do I want in life? Successful people live with intention. They intentionally design their lives in a way that produces the type of life they want to experience. There are a lot of you listening right now who say you want to be successful, but your life isn't set up or structured in a way that's going to produce that. What I'm going to do with this message is lay out the 5 steps for making this year your breakthrough year. It's time to stop going through the motions and start really living. The biggest tragedy is to live a whole life and never have truly lived. Now, it's time for you to start living life instead of having life live you. I know some of you out there have been beat up, sucker punched, and knocked down on the mat of life. I get it. I know some of you are bruised, broken, and shattered on the inside. I've been there. Some of you have been contemplating giving up, and I know some of you listening right now have even considered suicide. But I'm here to tell you, hearing this message is not a mistake. God loves you. If you read the biographies of the greats, every single one of them went through struggles, real life, just like you're going through right now. And they turned it around. That's what it's all about. I know you've been wounded. I know you've been hurt. I know you're feeling pain. I get it. But here's the thing, your spiritual enemy has used your past, your pains, hurts, and the things you've gone through, to enslave you, to keep you in bondage. To break through this year, you have to reframe what happened to you in the past. By reframing what held you in bondage, you can take the past and use it to thrust you into greatness. The word says, what the enemy meant for harm, God will make good. There's a powerful truth there. There can be no testimony without first having a test. And that's what your whole life has been up until now, one great big test. Now, God is going to use your past as the foundation for victory, for greatness, and for Him to glorify Himself through you. What we've got to do is help you reframe your past. You've got to look at your past as boot camp, as training, as preparation, as college. You got your PhD from the School of Hard Knocks. So now, when they ask you, what's your major? You tell them, my major is overcoming adversity. When they ask, what's your name? You tell them, my name is Victor. When they say, what's your product? You tell them, my product is struggle. When I was in school, my area of focus was in an economics class. They taught me how to not make stupid financial decisions. You've got to see the other side. That's such a sign. You've got to tell them, my major is overcoming adversity. You've got to tell them, my name is Victor. You've got to tell them, my product is struggle. This is how you've got to phrase your life from now on. You've got to see greatness in you. That's what I'm here to lay out for you today. You can use these 5 steps to make this year your breakthrough year. It's time to start over in life. It doesn't matter that you've failed at times. Whenever you get lost, come back to these steps, and they'll put you back in order. My daddy used to say, whenever you get lost in life, son, go back to the basics. And the basics are the word. The basics are the truth. So, we always start with that. Now, what I want to do is start off with Jeremiah 29 verse 11. It says, for I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future. I'm starting with the word because we're laying a foundation of truth to build upon. Truth is the tool for greatness. Step 1, lay the foundation for victory. The first step to making this year your year is laying the foundation for victory. That foundation is relationship. The foundation for our victory is established in our alone time with God. Let me back this up with the word. Mark 1 verse 35 says, very early in the morning, while it was still dark, Jesus got up, left the house, and went off to a solitary place, where he prayed. I read this quote by Paul Bilheimer, and it said, "The prayer closet is the arena which produces the deal to come." If you want to make this year your year, if your goal is to be successful, you must develop the discipline to set time aside every single day to be in God's presence. Every time we get alone with God, we give birth to something. I want to clear something up. I'm not in any way, shape, or form talking about religion. I'm talking about relationship. Religion cannot save you. Religion will not kill you. Religion will not liberate you. The only thing that will is a relationship with God. Get it from the source. Go to God. Just because religious rituals have been accepted as truth does not make them true. The real power of God resides in a one-on-one relationship with Him. That's it. I heard this powerful story about monks who lived in a monastery up on a mountain. These monks would start praying before the sun rose and pray all day in silence until nightfall. One day, a cat wandered onto the monastery grounds. Like clockwork, as soon as the monks would begin to sing their prayers, the cat would meow and cause a racket all day long. Finally, the chief monk said, "We've got to do something about this." So, every morning before they started their prayer time, they would tie the cat to a tree so it wouldn't make noise and disturb their prayer time. It worked. Before they started, they would tie him up, and he wouldn't make a sound the whole day. At nightfall, they would untie him, and life went on. One day, the chief monk passed away. His understudy took over, and they continued this cat tradition for years and years. Then, one day, the cat died. It threw the whole monastery into turmoil. They didn't know what to do. They couldn't start their worship without first tying up the cat. So, they called a council. All the monks got together to decide what they should do. One monk said, "Why don't we just go out and find another cat, tie him to a tree, and then continue our worship?" That sounded like great wisdom to the council, so they all agreed. They went out, bought a new cat, tied him to the tree, and began their prayer life. That's rituals, not relationship. That's a funny story, but how many of us tie the cat to the tree every Sunday morning, going through the motions? Real worship can't be accomplished with rituals. It can only be accomplished by spirit and truth. Step 2, awaken to your calling. The key to success is building your life around the strengths, gifts, and natural abilities that God gave you. Everything God does, He does for a purpose. He has anointed you with specific talents for a reason. Your calling is always going to be tied to these abilities that God gave you. We struggle the most in life when we get outside our lane, when we try to do something God did not design us to do. Many of us settle for a 9-to-5 life, doing a job that we can't stand. What does job stand for? Just over broke. And many of us settle for being just over broke because we've traded in our calling, what we've been assigned to do, for a paycheck. We've settled for being slaves to financial bondage, living a life we were never meant to live. Anytime we try to function outside of God's calling for our lives, we give birth to disillusionment, frustration, and spiritual emptiness. The biggest problem in the world is that 90% of the world is out of position. They're not doing what God has called them to do. And that's why we've got all this chaos, disorder, and strife going on. This year, I want you to stay in your lane. Be the real you. Some of you listening to me know exactly what you've been called to do, and you just haven't been doing it. But some of you don't have a clue. You don't know what your calling is. So here's the thing, ask yourself this question every single day when you get up: did God design me to do this? That discovery will set you in motion. You're not going anywhere you want to go if you don't ask yourself the right questions. What are you most passionate about? Success is built on fire. Fire is passion. Passion is intensity. That's what you've got to build your life around. Let me get real with some of you. You know your passion. You know what you desire to do. You're just scared to step out and pursue it. You say, "I'm not gonna pay my bills if I chase my dream." Okay, but let me get in your face with this. You've been struggling your whole life financially anyway. It's not like you've got so much money that if you step away from your 9 to 5, it's all going to collapse. I'm all for training, but I'm not gonna trade greatness for safety, for benefits, for a 401k. I'm just not gonna do it. I'm not gonna trade my greatness for that. Your dream right now is to work for Steve Jobs when God has designed you to be the next Steve Jobs. So, I ask you again, what has God designed you to do? This year has to be different. You've got to set yourself on fire. And that fire is passion. Let me define passion. Passion is an inexhaustible appetite to display one's true inner self. It's an eagerness to exemplify and express to the world who one is. Who are you? What did God design you to do? What sets you on fire? What will make you passionate about living every single day, from the moment your eyes open to the moment you close them? You've got to spend this whole year getting into that place, whatever that is. That's where you'll be most successful in life, doing the thing God has called you to do. Let's back this step up with scripture. Proverbs 22 verse 29 says, "Do you see a man skilled in his work? He will stand before kings, he will not stand before obscure men." There's a difference between admiring somebody's calling and being anointed to do it. Stay in your lane. Do what God has called you to do. Step 3. Define what's important. When John Lennon was in grade school, his teacher went around the class asking each student, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" Some of the students replied, "A policeman, a fireman, an astronaut, a teacher, a musician." But when it got to John, he replied, "I want to be happy." The teacher said, "John, you don't understand the question." John replied, "No, you don't understand life." We've got to keep that in focus this year. I want this year to be purpose-driven, legacy-focused, fame-oriented, but we've all got the same purpose in life, and that is to bring God glory in everything we do. Our victories, our success, that's the marketing campaign for the kingdom of God. The greats, the legends, the champions, the people who go to the highest level of success, if you study their lives, they're always legacy-focused. Your life is not just about you. Your gifts are tied to this world to make it a better place. There's something inside of you that God has planted that only you can give. That's your gift to the world. Your mindset needs to shift. Ask yourself, what do I want my legacy to be when I die? How do I want to be remembered? Get up every day and ask yourself this question over and over until you understand and know the answer. From the moment you awaken today, that's the moment your life begins to change. This year needs a theme. What do you want this year to be about? Decide what the theme of your life is going to be this year. Maybe for you, it's the year of fighting to liberate, the year of embracing rest, or maybe it's the year of discipline and dedication. Whatever it is, this year needs a theme. When you give it a theme, it helps unify and consolidate your focus. Broken focus is the #1 reason for failure. This step taps into vision, and vision is the genesis of all greatness. You've got to write this stuff down. The word says, write the vision and make it plain so that he who reads it may run with it. Write it down. Write your purpose down. Write your legacy down. Write your theme down. One mistake people make is they write out New Year's resolutions before they figure out who they really are. Find yourself before you seek the strategy. Who are you? That's the question. I'm not talking about the identities the world gave you or the ones the enemy tried to place on you. I'm talking about the real identity within you. These are the type of questions you've got to ask yourself over and over because these questions will set you on the trajectory for massive success. To fully understand self-defining what's important, we need to break it down into 5 elements. Purpose-driven. Legacy-focused. Outcome-oriented. Goal-driven. Action-aligned. Now, I want to give you an assignment with this step. When this message is over, I want you to get out a piece of paper, and at the top of it, write December 31st, 2024. Pretend that this year has already happened. I want you to write down everything that you accomplished this year. Write the last chapter first, just like the author at the beginning of this message. Write the last chapter of this year first. Then, every morning when you wake up, pull out that piece of paper and read it. If you align all your actions throughout the day to bring that last chapter about, that's step 4, live in an environment of truth. Step 4, live in an environment of truth. This principle rests on step 1. You can't fully awaken or understand revelation of the truth until you've been in the presence of God. That's why you've got to get in His presence every single day. The Word says, "The truth shall set you free." The quickest way to change your life is to introduce truth into it. The enemy cannot hide in an environment of truth. The enemy is like roaches. When you turn on the light, the roaches run. Your life will begin to taste freedom when you reach over and hit that light switch. Truth is the tool for greatness. Truth does not discriminate, it blesses all who embrace it. Truth has two elements, God's truth and the natural laws that govern this universe, like gravity, the law of attraction, the law of love. These are laws God put in place. Then, there's the truth He put inside of you, your identity, your truth. Who are you? You can't fully walk in truth until you understand your identity. My wife and I just built a new house, so we had to go to the post office and change our address. We've been getting notices in the mail at our new address saying, "Come to the post office, we have mail here that was sent to your old address." When we went to pick up those packages, the lady at the counter said, "I need to see your identification before I can give these to you. I have to confirm your identity." It's the same with God. He's already sent you the promises, the blessings, the healing, the prosperity, the abundance. It's already been sent. But for you to pick up these packages of blessings, you've got to show the world your identity. Your identity has to match the name on the blessing. I tell people this, I used to read other people's dreams until the day I found my own. Because I've discovered my identity, I can now see my dream so clearly that its manifestation is inevitable. The world knows exactly who you are. To live in an environment of truth, we have to approach our relationships differently. Real success is the full and outright demonstration of authenticity. You can't be living half-truths in relationships and expect to live in victory in your work. Here's something that will change the whole dynamic of your life if you adopt it from this point forward: make every relationship one of truth. First, raise your own standard. Let everything you do be done in truth. Once you establish your own standard, demand that of everybody around you. Truth is the key element to having amazing, intense connections with people, and that's what life is all about, connection. If you're tired of lukewarm relationships, you can change that. You can set your relationships on fire if you're willing to be vulnerable, emotionally exposed, and willing to walk in truth and be authentic with people. This will change your whole life. Set this in motion. Tell everyone in your life this: I don't want anything from you except your truth. I will not judge you on what you say to me. The only thing I will judge is the level of truth that you give me. Once you walk this out, you'll begin to establish trust with those you're involved with, and the relationship dynamics will completely change, from surface level down to the depths of real-life connection. From that place, the spark will be generated, and that spark will set you on fire on the inside. That fire will bleed over into the work you're doing and propel you to the greatest heights. Know this: truth is the tool for greatness. Every problem in life is a truth problem. Some of you are looking in the wrong place to fix your work problem. You think it's about work, but it's actually about your relationships. If you know the same is true there, it doesn't matter. Truth is the chiropractor for your life. This year, fail to live in an environment of truth in everything you do. Ask yourself these questions: how much truth am I currently walking in? How much truth is in my marriage, my family, my relationships, my work? Count real. How truthful am I being with God? It's time to stop faking it. It's time to stop going through the motions. It's time to be real. Stop living lies, man. Life is too short to live that way. You don't have to answer to the world, you only have to answer to God and the truth He put on the inside of you. Live the real you. Display to the world what truth looks like. Step 5. Align your mind with success. Wherever the mind goes, the body will follow. The word says, "Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind," Romans 12 verse 2. It all starts with your thinking. Your mindset is the thermostat that sets the tone for every environment you enter. You've got to walk into the room differently this year. Come into 2024 with a success mindset. Live in a 2024 mindset. This year, I want you to start dreaming big. You've got more inside of you. You've been settling for way less than God intended for you to have. Dream bigger because all things are possible. A person who cannot control their thinking disqualifies themselves from success. This step builds on the previous one. Only a mind rooted in truth can do the impossible. Thoughts and behaviors consistently aligned with success will eventually produce the outcomes they give birth to. This year, I want you to pour success into your mind. Whether that's reading, listening to audiobooks, watching videos, going to seminars, whatever it is, surround yourself with greatness and pull that in by the gallon. If you want this year to be different, then you've got to commit to making different happen. You've got to face your fears this year. You've got to get comfortable being uncomfortable. Don't run every time something hurts, every time you feel uneasy, every time you get a little uncomfortable. You can't outrun fear. The only way to beat it is to turn around and face it, to conquer it. Some of you have been giving up too easily. If you give up on a dream, it's like committing abortion on the life God had for you. Some of you were right at the door, about to make a breakthrough, and you gave up. This year, you can't let that happen. This is your year. You've got to own this year. Don't let it own you. Some of you need to make this year's theme, the year of the comeback. I know some of you have made mistakes, and you keep beating yourself up over it. I know some of you feel like the world has robbed you and done you wrong. I know some of you have been knocked down on that mat. Let me give you an example. Nobody goes to a movie and watches from the beginning to the end of the movie and says, "That was perfect, no struggles, no pain, no hurt." Nobody goes to pay to see a movie like that. The biggest movies are tragedies. At the beginning of the movie, we tap into a character, and then that character has some big setback, some big challenge, some big mistake, something painful happens that brings them down to nothing. Then, they find themselves, and when they do, they fly up, and we cheer for them over and over. That movie is your life right now. What has happened up to this point is the beginning of the movie. The good thing is, you get to write the ending. So, write the ending. Write that comeback story. Write that movie of your life that will have people lined up around the movie theater paying top dollar to see. If you're tired of your life, write a new script. If you don't like the one you've been living, change roles. You are the Steven Spielberg. You are the George Lucas. You are the director of your life. You are Walt Disney. Dream the life you want. Pick up the pen and write it. You are beautiful, strong, and amazing, and you deserve the best that life has to offer. I know life has sucker punched you. I know it's knocked you down on the mat a few times. But here's the truth, you're still standing. You're a product of struggle, and your best days lie ahead of you. That's the truth. The world is yours. Make this year your year. Own it. Don't let it own you. Go get what you deserve. Draw a line in the sand and say, "It all stops here today. I won't live this way. I was meant for greater, and I'm going to achieve it. I'm going to the top. Ain't nothing gonna stop me. I know who I am. I am a champion, born and raised. I am an overcomer, and I will not be denied what is mine. I will not settle for anything less than my best. I'm a child of the Most High God. Today, I start acting like it. I am blessed and unstoppable. And to God be the glory."